Hello again. Now, this year's mining Indaba will kick off in Cape Town on Monday. Industry leaders will descend on the mother city to discuss new strategies and investment opportunities. This year's theme is Unlocking African Mining Investment, Stability, Security and Supply. Wits University Professor Emeritus Raymond Durrheim joins us now to chat more about the significance of this year's gathering. Prof, good afternoon. I know that among other areas that you are responsible for as a research chair is, of course, the world of mining. Thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us. What would be the importance or significance of this particular Indaba kicking off on Monday? I'm asking this against the context of where the world is at today, and we live in the post-pandemic world.
Yes, well, it's certainly for the last couple of years with the pandemic, we've seen countries for a period were closed up, production slowed down, the economy slowed down, but this has been roaring back again. So again, we've seen economies growing, but of course we've got other major events on the horizon that have happened in the last year. We're approaching the first anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and that's had a huge impact on economies as well. Firstly, through the cutbacks in oil and gas exports to Europe, and that's shaken up the world to some degree. So yes, this is happening in a time of a fair amount of uncertainty globally in terms of geopolitics, in terms of the economies, and so it is a very important meeting, as I suppose, especially as we in South Africa and Africa try to grow our economies and ensure that wealth and opportunities flow to our continent.
Yeah, currently the global economy is slowing down, and the big markets like China and Europe, and those who are really the big importers of raw materials and mineral resources, the focus is that they are slowing down currently.
Yes, that is true. But, I suppose we in the mining industry, when you take a long-term view of decades, you can see that it is a cyclical industry. There are times of boom and times of bust. So that's the kind of world which we are used to, I suppose. It's like, if you look at weather, you have times of normal, times of floods, times of drought. And so that is something that a resilient company and a resilient mining company should be able to weather and should plan towards for that. So in times when things are going well, build up reserves that will tide us through the times when things are going more slowly. But that being said, I mean, if we want to live our modern life, if we want to have homes that are cooled or heated, if we want to have comfortable transport to get to and from work, if we want to have machinery that will help us to make our labor less onerous, things will continue to be manufactured and consumed. Of course, what we're seeing now is that perhaps as population growth slows, that we'll be seeing that, and as more and more people enter the middle class, perhaps the demand for appliances will slow down and more recycling will take place. But there are large numbers of people, particularly in Africa, who still haven't reached the middle class and have legitimate aspirations to have some of the benefits of middle class life. And so there will continue in the foreseeable future to be a demand for metals and materials.
Yeah. The theme this year, I understand, is about stability, security, and supply. What are your thoughts about this theme? I mean, appropriate theme at this time for the sector?
Oh, very appropriate. I mean, firstly, when it comes to supply, if you are a manufacturer, you want to make sure that you've got the raw materials to make the products that you want. And what has happened over the last decade has been a huge change in things that are being manufactured. And a lot of that's been driven by the move away from fossil fuels towards renewable energy. So, for example, if you want to have an electrical vehicle, you have to use different materials to store the energy. Or if you are replacing coal-fired power stations with solar and wind, you need the materials that are required to make the magnets, to make the photovoltaic cells, and there are a whole new range of elements, things that weren't really mined in large quantities in the past, things like cobalt and lithium, things like manganese for batteries, and of course copper has always been in big demand, and the demand for copper is skyrocketed, it is growing even more. So it's not only the supply of traditional minerals like iron and copper, but it's a whole range of new elements that are being sought for right now. And often these minerals that contain these are not evenly distributed around the globe. There are just a few countries where these are often concentrated, and sometimes those countries are in regions which are not politically stable. And so these issues where when an investor comes along and wants to decide, do I not invest in this mine? It's looking at a long-term investment, periods of decades, not just a few years. They want to be sure that or as sure as you can be, that their capital they invest in is not at risk. If it is risky, of course, they'll expect an even greater premium on it. So these issues of supply, will we have a stable supply? Is it secure? Can the agreements we struck with governments be relied on not to change? These are major issues facing our minerals sector right now.
Okay. Now, just finally, outlook for mining. I mean, especially South Africa and Africa. It is, of course, the Investing in Africa Mining Indaba, with the understanding that we've got this declining economic growth that's being forecast. There's a slowdown.
Yeah, now, certainly Africa is seen as a region with great geological potential. And a lot of it has been, let's say, underexplored. And the reasons for that are many. Some of it is the poor infrastructure or the lack of political stability. So it is a great frontier. It's got the geological potential. But to attract investment, we need to make sure that we can provide the security and the stability that is necessary. Even in South Africa, we've kind of missed out on the last minerals boom because of things such as our problems with transport, of getting the ore to the ports. Also with problems like our energy supply has made us not such an attractive investment. Also with some uncertainty around taxation and regulations around ownership. And this is the sort of thing that investors are looking for. They often say that capital is a coward. It's looking for a safe place to be. And this is what we as African countries need to, and again, we mustn't, I suppose, do something that's not to our benefit. It must be to mutual benefit. We must be looking for a win-win situation. Because, of course, the minerals market is competitive.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for your time and insights there ahead of this year's Investing in Africa Mining Indaba that will kick off in Cape Town on Monday. Thank you very much, Professor Raymond Durrheim, Research Chair in Exploration, Earthquake and Mining Seismology at Wits University.